Greetings. Greetings and salutations, horror fans. I am Midnight Researcher, and I bring to you another iteration of Midnight Society. It has been quite a long time. Midnight Society Edition 4, aptly titled It's Still Alive Edition. This has been inspired partially by a group collaborative effort. Case of the Project HorrorCon convention happened just a few days ago. The attitude being, if HorrorCon was still alive, Midnight Society could also reemerge. Well, we are unfortunately short on time, as my fault. I forgot to hit a button, and we started reading a story when we're actually live. I'll take full accountability on that. However, we're not going to let that stop us. And the person who just cleared his throat is going to be the first to read. My good friend, Bone Man Andre. Bone Man Andre, if you would want to explain a bit about yourself and admit your story that you are going to read for the approval of the Midnight Society. Take it away, Andre, and lead us to success.
Success I cannot promise. Hi everybody, my name is Bone Man Andre, Bones for short, and I'm somewhat of an amateur VA. I don't know, wouldn't claim that officially, but some of you might have heard from me before. Anyway, presented for the approval of the Midnight Society today, I bring you a story called Trust, written by Nahina Naja. It's a bit of a word joke. Anyway, here we go. I open my eyes and I look up at a ceiling. I'm sitting in a chair and I can't move. It feels like a belt is holding my head in place to the backrest, and I move my eyes down. I can see most of another man's face, and his head's strapped down just the same as mine. His eyes are darting left and right, teeth clenched, and he's struggling to free himself. I make my own attempts, knowing that they're going to be useless, but trying anyway. The chair's bolted to the floor, and it won't move. The man's pretty close to me, and if we could move, we could probably touch. And I'm scared, and I have no idea how this is going to play out. Hey, I say. You know what's going on here? No, I went to sleep and I woke up tied to a fucking chair with some asshole in front of me who's apparently in the same fucking situation. Stupid question, I suppose. Can you move anything besides your eyes and mouth? He tries again. Just my fingers and toes. Damn much that can do. Okay, I sigh. It looks like we're gonna be stuck here until whoever did this decides to do what they're doing. What's your name? He answers me shortly. Mike. I'm Chuck. I'm curious about this man. Why is he here with me? Can you think of any reason you're here? Did you hurt anyone? Steal from anyone? Anything? Man, I've nothing done anything, he cries. A couple speeding tickets, that's it. You think someone will at least tell you why they've kidnapped you? Yeah, I can't think of anything either. I respond truthfully. I look at him, and I try to think if I know him, or maybe I'd seen him somewhere before today. I hadn't. Any chance you recognize me? Don't think so. Alright, we're two innocent strangers. I guess it's just random. Pick the first person they happen to get, but for what? I look around as much as I can. The ceiling's high, I can't see any walls. There's a spotlight high overhead illuminating us, and all my fingers can feel the edges of the armrest. I can't hear anything beyond my own breathing and the attempted movements of my newfound companion. What could have brought us here? Is this torture? Is there some psychotic force that brought us together? Whatever the answer is, I can feel it in my gut that someone's gonna die. I hope it's not me. Ah, shit! I just cut myself, I think. Something hard and sharp's around my right arm. I look back down at him. It's a strain to keep my eyes pointed down so far, and he's staring at me, panicking, mouth wide open and panting. I try to move my arms as much as I can. It feels like straps, or something's holding down my left arm and metal bands around my right. What the hell? What are they going to? A loud screech. Deafening sounds. Speakers crackle in a booming voice. Good evening, gentlemen, and as you've no doubt discovered, you've been restrained and now are part of our little game. Between you is a table, and on this table is a gun. In some time, the restraints in your right arms will be released, and the first to get the gun and kill the other wins their own life. An associate will put you to sleep, and you'll be released a free man. The other will be disposed of, and you'll never be bothered again. Now, if neither of you shoot the gun within 5 minutes of your restraints being released, a lethal electric current will be sent through your chairs, killing you both. Quite painfully, in fact. It's better for one to live than for both to die. Silence. We wait for the restraints to be released. It doesn't come. What the fuck, Chuck? I guess we'll have to wait. Maybe they want us to get to know the man we have to kill? I don't want to kill anybody, but I sure as hell don't want to die. I yell. Well, would you rather kill me or die? That's the important question. Is your life worth the death of somebody else? Could you live with your life knowing you murdered someone else just so you can live? No, he said. I'd rather die than kill somebody, but I'd rather live and not kill even more. Alright, I feel the same, Mike. But unless you think we could untie ourselves in 5 minutes with one hand... He was silent for a moment, and then he started whispering. Yeah? What if we could? What? I yelled. How can we trust that we actually have 5 minutes? How can I trust in you? If I reach over and untie myself, how do I know you're not going to go for the gun? Like I said, I'd rather die than kill somebody. A shot at both of us living is better than the alternative. I guess it's the only way to not be a murderer. I smile, even though he can't see me. Alright, I trust you. You can trust in me too. So that's our plan. We'll attempt to free ourselves and hope we can do it in time. I know I'm not going to be getting anything off of that table before I free myself, and I really think that Mike won't try to kill me. I start going over plans to get myself free. Would it be easier to undo the other arm first? Would I need my other arm to free it? If not, would I need to remove my head in restraint so I could look, but could I do it with only one hand? I decided that when the time came, I would just go with my instinct. Alright, it feels like there are 3 straps on each limb, one on my head, one under my shoulders, and one around my waist. So not counting the ones on the right arm, that's... Mike thinks for a second. 12 straps, or belts, whatever they are. I'm sure we have enough time. We wait. So you got a family or anything, Chuck? No, not really, I say. My parents are around, and I see them every once in a while, and I have a few friends, but nobody really close. You? I have a girlfriend and a kid, and the rest of the family. I really want to get back to them. I just got a new job. I'm planning on getting a new house. Things are going pretty well. Man, why did this have to happen now? Why does this have to happen at all? Why are you people so fond of death? The life of someone like me against someone like him really didn't seem fair. I still want to live, though. I don't want to kill him, but I'm not going to offer myself as a sacrifice so that he can live. The only thing a reasonable person would do is our plan. We talk for a while. He tells me about where he grew up, what he does for a living, how he met his girlfriend, and about how wonderful his daughter is. He starts getting choked up and I take over. I talk about anything. School, friends, my plans in life. We keep talking about the lives we very well might lose until we can't bear to talk about it anymore, and we wait for what seems like an hour in silence. Still, nothing happens. Mike started yelling, "Hey, come on, we gonna sit here all day?" And nothing in reply but silence. Mike is shaking, as much as he could anyway. I want to see my kid again. I want to get out of here. Mike, just relax. Think about how you're gonna get out of here. Think about how getting your other arm free. Your head, your chest, your legs. Think about that. All right. I'm cool. He doesn't seem cool. We wait some more, and every time I look down, Mike seems worse. I try talking to him to get him out of his own head, but he won't talk back. I wait a while, and I'm hoping we can both be free of this accursed game. And as I look at him, it feels like I might have been here for years, just sitting here looking across this table. And eventually he starts muttering, but I can hear him. We just assume we can get out of here. They could have us locked in. They could have people kill us the minute we walk out. I don't even know where we are. We could be in the middle of the desert or Antarctica for all I know. Hell, there could be someone 6 feet to the left and I wouldn't know. They could be listening in the whole time and they know what we plan to do. I don't even know what's holding me down. They might have to cut me out of here and there's no way to get out with just one hand. Someone has to die. And sure as hell it's not going to be me. Mike, I try to reassure him. Focus. Focus on getting out. No one has to die. I know it, and you have to know it too. 12 straps, that's it. We walk out. We're free. Click. The restraints release, and I lift my right arm to the belt that's on my head and I start to undo it. I see Mike reach across the table. I know I can't win. Sorry, Chuck, I have a family. I've got more to live for than you. Don't do this. There's plenty of time. Don't go home to your family a murderer. Fuck you! The belt on my head is loose, and I look down quickly, his hands waving back and forth on the table, trying to find the gun. It's not there. 5 years, I say, standing up. 5 years of endless variations, and they always reach for the gun. And that's trust.
Really would make you think or wonder who you can trust and who you couldn't. That was Bone Man Andre. Now, we will turn everyone's attention to good friend Four Shot Pastas with his story, his original story, might I add. Four-Shot, it is your turn.
Radio. Hello, I'm Four-Shot Passes. I have been writing stories for about 4 years now. And this is one that I wrote a couple years back, but it's new and improved. Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society. That Which Lurks, written by me. Something happened recently. Something that would likely have me in a padded room faster than a murderer fulfilling God's plan. I know I'm sane. The evidence is clear. And despite that, I need to regurgitate everything somewhere to get this virus out of my skull. Name's Jeremy, programmer and certified recluse, and have only had the cops come to my house twice for screaming. You may call it sleep deprivation, but I like to think of it as brain overtime. I don't do drugs to stay awake or anything like that. I mostly just take heart attack inducing amounts of caffeine. I've been to the ER a couple times, sure, but that's just the price for not having to deal with anyone in person. Human relationships have always struck me as weird and uncomfortable. I'm supposed to be myself, but only to the extent other people are comfortable. Fuck that. Computers made sense. Everything had clearly defined rules, and I dreamed of learning exactly how they worked. And come 5th grade, our school bought some for learning purposes. They were iffy, but my persistence led to a new computer teacher showing me the basics. It just took off from there. I got my parents out of debt and got myself a nice place to live. Blissful solitude encompassed me, and I only ever had to interact with a few people in person. I was riding high until the whiplash of reality smacked me in the face with all the weight of a brick through a window. I have multiple work emails. One is specifically designated for receiving requests, another is for payments, and the third is for high-end clients. Not many people have that one. I only really check it once a week to make sure my bot is properly filtering spam and removing my email from spam rosters. On average, I get a steady trickle of one legitimate business email through it every couple months. I cannot stress enough just how few people have it. But, to be fair, it had been a couple months since the last one. At the time, I'd been working on a side project. I was on 2 days with no sleep and bags that implied it was 5. I just shut off my computer and was about to get into bed when I got a notification on my phone telling me someone needed me for a project. It was sent to my high-end address. Assuming it was a return customer, I sighed, taking one last look at my bed. Sitting down at my computer, I started it back up and got ready to start on whatever they needed. Checking the message, I was surprised to see an email I didn't recognize. But the message itself seemed legit enough. Dear Mr. Riley, I am reaching out to you after getting a recommendation from Redacted. It is our understanding that you specialize in all sorts of programming and can do special projects for large sums of money. Enclosed in this email is a description of an SFTP client that can be used on private servers disconnected from the internet. We are asking that you please look through the file enclosed in this email, as it contains a description of how we would like it made, as well as what we are willing to pay. So long as you do not reveal this information to anyone, we will pay in full. If you are to accept this offer, half of the money will be sent to your account within seconds. If you do not fulfill your end of the deal, we ask that you send us some money back, as well as additional fees for accepting something you're incapable of. This will entirely depend on how long you take to inform us of the cancellation. If the job is not accepted within an hour, it will be null and you will no longer be able to accept. Have a wonderful day. The language was a bit odd, almost haphazard compared to most, but my bot was working just fine. I even messaged the person they mentioned in the email, and they confirmed that they had told someone about me. After a discussion about giving out the address to people without my permission, I went back to the email, scanning the folder for viruses, and it was clean. Shrugging, I downloaded and opened it. They were going all out for such a simple client. I can't disclose any specifics about the program itself, but I can say it looked confidential. Scrolling some more, the security details caught my eye, and I raised a brow. They specifically requested one that was impenetrable. I kept scrolling, taking glances at anything unusual for the service, and eventually I reached the bottom. $20,000. For a frame of reference, a client like that should be in the realm of, nowhere fucking near that, and that's overpriced as hell. Then I saw the 2 days time frame that lay at the bottom of the offer. Wiping the drool from my chin, I swirled a pinky finger in my ear, trying to rub out a sickening ringing. I checked the time. 6:02. A faint light shone behind the curtains to my left. I shrugged again. Not like I'm getting sleep tonight. I cracked my knuckles, popped an Advil, and twisted off the cap of a fresh monster. Opening my own programming software, I looked at the monitor to my left, then right, squinting. What if? I opened a personal folder, then WIPs. I grinned as I hovered over the program, Titanium. Oh yeah, I got this. With the security system already prepared, my ego fought the caffeine in my system, leaving me with a semi-relaxed jittering. An hour vanished into oblivion. Sitting back and taking the last gulp of the energy drink, I looked over my progress. Already ahead of schedule. Smirked, closing my eyes and leaning back. My eyes flicked open, and I looked around. My kitchen. Shit, not again. I checked my phone. The room went dark. My eyes strained. I dropped my phone and sprinted to my desk. Rolling in place, I opened another drink. Checking the time on my computer confirmed it. 10 a.m. I pounded half the drink, my attention zoned into my central monitor, fingers slamming into each key. A few minutes passed and I grew aware of my surroundings again. Aware of the dark figure to my right, just out of view. The one roiling like a stationary vortex. The hairs on my shoulders stood. I rubbed them, wondering why the figure freaked me out this time. I readjusted in my seat, focusing on the program again. 2 hours slipped away as I shrugged the hallucination off, focusing exclusively on the project at hand. I made some errors here and there, no doubt, but I caught up to where I should have been. Which is about the time the urge to piss overwhelmed my urge to ignore the thing that had only grown closer to me. Washing my hands, I glanced my reflection in the mirror, then doubled over, a mixture of two different hot, sticky fluids spewing into the sink. I wiped my face down with my shirt and tried to ignore the figure in the mirror. The smell of hot sewage and rotting meat that encompassed me as our eyes met. Slapping my face, I sat down. I gurgled some water, spitting it into a tiny trash can beside me. I shook my hands in front of me, taking deep breaths. Letting out one last yoga breath, I checked the time on the bottom right. My breath stopped. 3 hours. I got a couple strong caffeine pills I'd been saving and downed them with another gulp of anxiety juice. Refusing the temptation of my bed, I typed relentlessly for the next 3 hours, getting far more done than I thought probable. I had more than made up for any time I could have lost. That's when another dark figure outlined from the corner of my other eye. A double take of my peripheries and I noticed a difference. The angles they were standing at. Both were closer. Even more so than when I went to the bathroom. Fuck off, you little... They vanished. Yeah. Exhale. Nothing. Inhale. Nothing. I was suffocating, squirming in my seat. I couldn't move. I tried slamming my head back, but it was pressed into the ergonomic mesh. I couldn't move anything but my eyes, and looking down revealed black, misty tentacles holding me in place. Infected pus filled my sinuses as it hissed into my ear with the cadence and symphony of all those suffering in hell. Time is running thin. Finish and I shall forgive. Struggling, I nodded my head, sweat seeping from every orifice. They released, sketching their previous positions back into reality. I checked the bottom of my main monitor to see another 5 hours had slipped between the cracks of my sanity. My brain was too overloaded to worry about the anomalies. I muscled through, and soon enough I hit the 24-hour mark, with no more incidents. That's about the time the third one appeared, at the top center of my perception. While the other two had taken to ignoring my threats, they hadn't come much closer. But this one, I could see its head right above my main monitor. It creased space-time around it, slowly indenting its spot as I worked on a more tedious section of the program. When I looked up at the thing, it didn't go away. Instead, its toothless grin absorbed the light around me as I stared. Meaty sewage glazed my tonsils, the air hot and humid. I heaved into my trash can, gagging away the knot in my throat, along with the thick, rancid air. 9 a.m. 21 hours left. I was running on fumes of caffeine and had to finish. Minimum, it would be another 12 hours before that. Under ideal circumstances. I've been awake for just over 3 days and was running low on drinks. On top of that, I had a migraine and back pains. To top it all off, the creatures were growing closer. Their darkness encapsulated my vision. Nothing but the monitors visible. 4 hours passed before the first one touched me yet again. It was the creature on the right. It dragged its dark, blistered, rotting finger up and down my arm. With each stroke, it absorbed a fragment of my sanity. The finger was cold, lifeless, and reeked of maggot-infested beef. "How are you feeling? I hope you'll have the opportunity to apologize." The thing hissed before letting out a wheezing laugh. "What are you?" The knot in my throat tied my vocal cords. "You." The voice was as smooth as sandpaper. As he wheezed out the single syllable, my eye twitched with tingling. "What do you want with me?" "Death." I couldn't talk anymore as the creature to my left aggressively latched onto my arm. It croaked playfully, "Sever the string." And the right, "So we may live." The third vanished, and a deep, rumbling creak resounded. "It is best." They all hissed at once. "Sever it!" I shook uncontrollably. The lights of my monitors, like strobes, the things grabbed me, holding me in place, cutting me, and the air creek water. I struggled to suck it in, each breath gagging me. "None of you are real. I'm going to finish this and fall asleep. When I wake up, you'll be gone, and there's nothing you can do about it." Tears stabbed my eyes, and with shaky hands, I managed to continue the project with only 12 hours left. By then, I wasn't questioning the lost time. I just wanted everything to be over with. 6 hours later, I faded in and out of consciousness. The only thing keeping me awake was the constant whispering from the three entities surrounding me. "Sever yourself," the creature on my right hissed. Then from behind me, "A knife in the kitchen is all." I fought their urges, trying my damnedest to ignore them, but anytime I'd focus on their voices, I'd lose some time. Sometimes 10 minutes, and once a half hour, and before I knew it, I only had 20 minutes left. I just had a few more errors to fix and a couple more test runs. 10 minutes left. One more test. There was another error. 5 minutes left. Test. One more error. Damn it! 2 minutes left. Test. No errors. I sighed, smiling, preparing to hit send on the email when a stick through raw meat resounded through my mind. Then suction and silence. The pain hit a few seconds later when a wave of heat culminated from under my right shoulder blade. I don't have any other memories from that night. Just waking up face down on my keyboard, exhausted. I'd managed to click send at the right time since I now had 10,000 more in my account than I did the night before. That's what I thought anyway, until I checked the date to find that 3 days had passed. I went to the bathroom to clean up, I threw the clothes I was wearing out, brushed my teeth, showered, then got out to dry off and get dressed. But as I looked over my right shoulder, making sure everything in the mirror was good, I noticed a scar right under my right shoulder blade.
That was four-shot pasta. Very unique story. Be careful who you accept any kind of job offer from, or it might just spell your doom. One moment. We are now turning stage for the campfire. My good friend, Magnus Peccatori. Story, bit of a classic on the internet.
Howdy, y'all.
Done many things, and he is going to take the stage now. Magnus, take it away.
Alrighty, y'all. Don't mind if I stand up? I don't care. I'm gonna stand up anyway. Howdy, folks. My name is Magnus
for it.
Peccatori. You can call me Mr. Boner. Nice to see you. Now, tonight I'm going to read for you for the approval of a Midnight Society, if you will. This story, well, it has another name, but I'm gonna call it the masterpiece because the original title kind of gives away the plot twist of the whole thing. All right, so I'm gonna call it the masterpiece. I think that works, right? Okay, here it goes. So, I've been lying in my room for hours now. It's 5:30 a.m. and there's not much I can do. You know what the worst part of my situation is? I'm in the same room with my parents, and they keep looking at me. And I can't help but to, look back and try not to cry or scream. Their eyes are focused on me and their mouths are wide open. There's a strong scent of blood, and I feel so paralyzed with fear. But here's the thing. The second I make any hint that I'm not asleep anymore, I'm screwed. I'll die. And there's nobody around to save me. I've been trying to think of a way out, but the only idea I have is to rush through the door, run outside, and maybe scream for help. Hope that my neighbors maybe will hear me. It's risky, but if I stay here, I'll surely die. He's waiting for me to wake up. What the hell did I sit down? He's waiting for me to wake up and see his masterpiece. You're probably wondering what's going on. I do get ahead of myself sometimes. About 3 hours ago, I heard screaming from the other side of the house. I got up and went to check the noise before I realized that I had to use the restroom. Instead of doing the smart, noble thing and investigating, I used the bathroom first. I could have gotten myself killed right then and there for my stupid actions, of course, but I actually did my business and then took a peek outside the bathroom. There was blood on the carpet, as any other sane human would do. I bolted back into my room and, hiding under my bed sheets like the scaredy cat I was, I tried to convince myself to go back to sleep. And that this was just some weird, vivid dream or something. But I heard my bedroom door creak open. And like the terrified child I was, I peeked out from under my blankets to see what was going on. I could see something dragging my parents into the room. Obviously dead. Right? And it was not human. I can tell you that much. It was hairless, with no eyes, and no clothing. It walked like a caveman, with its back slouched as it dragged my parents. But this thing was smarter than any caveman, about as smart as an Andrew Tate fan, or as I like to call him, tater tots. Right. It propped my father against the edge of the bed and made him face me. Then it sat my mother down in a chair and positioned her towards me as well. Creepy bastard. Then it started rubbing his hands along the walls, staining them with blood, drawing a circle with the devil's pentagram on it. This thing had made what it would probably call a masterpiece. To finish it off, it scrambled a message on the wall that I could not read in the darkness. It then positioned itself under my bed, waiting to strike. The scariest thing now is my eyes have adjusted to the darkness. And since then, I can read the message on the wall. I don't want to look at it because it's terrifying to think about. But I feel I need to see it before I'm killed. I peek at the creature's masterpiece. It reads, "I know you're awake." And that, my friends, is how I became a spooky, scary skeleton. Now, moral of the story is, if you see a porcupine, don't touch it. It hurts. Thank you so much for listening, my friends, and happy Hanukkah. Happy Halloween. Thank you.
And that was Magnus Peccatori being his usual, very expressive and fun-loving self, even with his really spooky tale, with an ad-lib or two
Yes,
thrown in there for
sir.
good measure. Thank you, Magnus. I will now direct
You're welcome.
everyone's attention over to Trollforce, who has his own original story has been working on, refining specifically for this. At least as far as today is concerned, this is an exclusive story. However, look for future iterations of this days to come. Trollforce, take it away, my friend.
Hello everyone, this is Trollforce, and with the submitted approval of the Midnight Society, this is Destination 407. The date is always the same, September 8th, 2004. The dust settles in the empty house as the last signs of life in the home fade away from the walls that have once stood proud, facing the tranquility that once was. Only the walls can remember the faces and rhythmic tunes and nodes that filled its columns. With knowledge comes age. As the mildew and dry rot slowly creeps through the frames, so does the fresh web of decay form around its host. That's all I can remember from the dream. It always ends the same way. After a few days of trying to recollect my thoughts and get my story straight, I finally mustered up the courage to tell this story. There is a deleted archive of a news story that happened on September 8th, 2004, in rural Georgia. Looking up the date on an internet archive reveals nothing but claims of sources. But the one I'm telling you is true, so place your trust in me for now. The following events that are about to unfold are truly disturbing. I wish to remain anonymous, but you can call me Tommy. I've seen places that you can only see in your dreams. Daunting places filled with fading and murky memories. They exist in the threads of time. A lasting stain on our world. Places that nobody can see or wants to see. But I'm different. I crave discovery, refusing to stop until I find the revelation and truth and own it. At least, that's what I believed. I'm the only known survivor of a grand conspiracy that's happened to me. I'm an investigative journalist, not the kind you see on TV. True crime shows are predatory and exploitative in nature. Admittedly, the pay is tempting, but no amount of money can sweep away the horrors I've uncovered. The Coleman family is a prime example. I can assure you that this is in no way relating to anyone alive or on record today. This family doesn't exist on the grid anymore, and they haven't made a blip in decades. According to my logs, this family has been involved in a string of murders that have been happening coincidentally to other tragedies around the same time, like clockwork. I've been tracking these murders for as long as I've heard about them, and I figured out why. At the time of writing, no other tragedies to this scale have occurred, but that doesn't mean that it has stopped. In fact, it's waking. The next one will happen very soon, and I'm hot on the trail. Let's turn back the clock to the first of these events. April 21st, 1823. A man proposes to his girlfriend at the farmhouse that he and his father built together. The next morning, the couple are brutally murdered by a member of the spouse's family. The woman's last name was Coleman and came from a wealthy family that had migrated from Ireland not long before. The murder was an open and shut case, but the most interesting thing was the dates. It's not so much the aggravation and motivations that were the driving force to the morbid act, but for when the bell tolls. This is not some story about how the angel of death works in his ways. I believe that this is the work of some spiritual influence. Everyone is born with a countdown. We don't know how we're going to die, but one way or another, our time will come. Even national tragedies that seem random and cruel have this arbitrary counter. However, the ones I'm focusing on are indeed of spiritual influence, and cannot be found anywhere else on public record. The first murder that happened on April 21st, 1823, happened in Tampa, Florida, shortly after the Seminole leaders signed the Treaty of Moultrie Creek. The farmhouse murder was documented but was lost when Fort Brooke was decommissioned. Many of his historical documents were stored in the Ybor City tunnels in 1907, staying hidden during the Prohibition up until they were rediscovered by the city in 2018. That's how I got my hands on this case. I went to Tampa the first chance I had, and during one of my urban adventures, I took a stroll through the Ybor tunnels and found it near the cellar at the Blue Ribbon supermarket in downtown Ybor. Enclosed in the documents was the murder itself, as well as some additional forensics and an analysis report that followed a similar case near Savannah, Georgia, at the site of the City Lanier Bridge. The overview recorded 4 lighthouses in the area, the most notable one being near the bridge, the St. Simon's Lighthouse, near the bridge before construction was completed in 1956. The lighthouse today stands as a museum, and it was my next destination. I went there and spoke with the curator. I told him about my trip to Tampa and my investigation, and he became interested and volunteered to help me solve this. He said that one of the exhibits was brought in from the 70s, was at the bridge after the collision of the African Neptune ship. 10 people were reported dead. I asked him what was so important about this artifact, since it was from a long time period. He said that it didn't come from the bridge at all, and that it was actually found in the lighthouse cellar. The last curator found it locked away in the small chest in the foundation while performing electrical work in the cellar. He eventually got it open, and inside was an Alicia Collier revolver. The gun was taken off display and replaced with a piece of rebar from the bridge. I asked him why all the secrecy for this artifact, and he said that 38 years after the farmhouse murder in Tampa, the original St. Simon's Lighthouse was burned to the ground in 1961 by Confederate forces. Shortly after, the lighthouse keeper survived but killed himself to avoid capture near where the bridge stands today. The gun was recovered, but the body was burned. After the Civil War ended, the gun was gifted to the man's family, wrapped in the flag. Even though the keeper was not a participant in war, he was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. After the lighthouse was rebuilt, the flag and gun were both hidden in the foundation as an attempt for the family to forget about the whole event. I asked my friend if he was part of the curator if he was part of the family, and he said that he wasn't because they moved somewhere in North Carolina, and they haven't been heard of since. At first, I thought that would be my next destination. However, the curator stopped me and asked me what the original family's name was. Coleman, I told him. He took a moment to think and replied that our next destination has to be in Brunswick, Maine. I asked him how he came to that conclusion, and he said that he will tell me when we get there. As we booked a train ticket, he smiled and shook my hand and introduced himself as Samuel. I followed suit and obliged his hospitality with my own name. We continued our journey up the eastern seaboard towards Boston, New York, and eventually made it through New England territory before Samuel talked to me about the investigation. We both start talking during the train ride to where our last stop is, and we learn a bit more about ourselves. I told Samuel that I'm a freelance journalist and that I do my work on a laptop in a coffee shop. and that lately I've been struggling with bills and very close to living in my car. He talks to me more about the Coleman family that we've been loosely tracking, and says that even if no one's alive carrying the family name, it's not entirely possible that they're gone. If the murders are continuing, that maybe there's something hereditary at work here. Before we reach Brunswick, Samuel asked me another thing. So, to back it up a little for curiosity's sake, what was your most famous case? He asked. I think a moment before replying. I wouldn't say famous, but this dates back 20 years ago. This happened back in Tampa, but it's not at all like this. I helped spread the word of a highway murder that a family was deeply affected by. It was a hit and run, drunk driver, fled the scene. Those types. You seen one of those cases, you seen them all. But this one was different. There was more to it. Not enough to change the outcome of his death, but what happened before. How is there more to it? He inquired. Some people know that they're going to die before it happens. He took his family out to the beach the day before and asked my brother-in-law's wife and kid if they wanted to come, and they did. It seemed like the perfect day at the time. And 2 years ago, the man who caught the highway killer was last seen at the same beach with his son, and that was the last time they saw each other. The same beach, 20 years apart. I say. Thomas, what are you trying to say? He asked. Those weren't murders, Samuel, I offered. What? How? He asked in confusion. You lived in Brunswick for a while, didn't you? And you lived pretty close to Savannah. There are also tunnels in Savannah. Did you know or heard of anyone that went down them? Well, of course. People go down those tunnels all the time. It's basically a tourist destination down there in Savannah. Yes, but those are public. The Ebor tunnels were recently unearthed. You found the gun, and you knew the story about the lighthouse keeper. But that's not a lot of physical evidence. What are you talking about? It's the dates, Samuel. They're coordinates. The murders were actually suicides. I'll show you. The farmhouse murder, 4/21/23, in the zip code, 33607. That's the first clue. Now you remember the lighthouse keeper, right? He took his life 23 miles from the building. The zip code of the bridge is 31523. The number 23 is coming up on every case that we found so far. We're onto something big, Sam. Okay, even if that is true, then why were you led to the lighthouse in Brunswick? Not the lighthouse, the bridge. The lighthouse keeper shot himself to avoid capture. I did a little more digging, and the man's name was Norman. Does that mean he was a Coleman descendant? Norman derives from the family tree. Don't you see? Look at this. The number 23 in religion is an angel number, meaning transformation and change. It's in every case we uncovered, and the number 407 is what started it all. Folks back in the day didn't use zip codes, just compasses and maps. However, only recently, the sites of these tragedies are marked by numbers. Sam, these numbers combined together mean awakening. I think we're getting close to how this case ends. Hey look, we're almost there. We arrived at the station in Brunswick and planned our next move. As I'm looking over the notes analyzing, Samuel adds on to our search with the claim. Tommy? Yes? Now that we're here, I think it's time I told you something. I haven't been completely honest with you since we took this trip. What do you mean? That gun I showed you back in the shop? I didn't just show it to you because we're both interested in it. I showed it to you because we're both following the same trail. It was when you mentioned the farmhouse murder back in the Fort Brooke region that I knew you would eventually come to the lighthouse next. Wait, how is that possible? Explain yourself now. There was another case back in Georgia. Port Wentworth, Savannah, Georgia, September 8th, 2004. Zip code 31407. Tell me if this sounds familiar to you. The dust settles in the empty house as the last signs of life in the home fade away from the walls that once stood proud and faced the tranquility that once was. Only the walls could remember the faces and rhythmic tunes and notes that filled its columns. With knowledge comes age. As the mildew and dry rot slowly creeps through the frames, so does the fresh web of decay form around its host. Sam? What the hell? How do you know about that? Who are you really? I am who I am. We were friends. This whole journey brought us together. And since we're so close to the end now, there's no point in hiding the surprise. My My real name is Samuel Lee Coleman. I took in the family name when my brother took his own life right in front of me. I was adopted, you see. The Lee family took me in when I was just 6 months old. I was living a perfectly fine white picket fence family life up until September 8, 2004 showed up. And then, fuck it. We're so close now. You're insane. What makes you think I'm gonna finish this now? I'm the one with a gun. And I say we chart our final destination at Pond Island Lighthouse. And do you know how far that is from us? 23 miles. Funny how that number keeps cropping up. I suggest we start walking, buddy. I got held at gunpoint from who I thought was my friend all the way to the lighthouse. It took a lot in me to run back and get away from this madman, but there was just no way. We ran to the boat and took the rest of the way to the lighthouse in the dead of night, and we entered a house. It was almost exactly how Sam described it. We investigated the area, and when I realized that there's nothing hidden in the house, I turned around with Samuel pointing the gun right at me, blocking my only exit. You were right about everything, Thomas. You're a very smart man. But you shouldn't have put your faith in me. Stay where you are. You're not going anywhere. Sam, what are you doing? Have you lost your mind? I trusted you. You would never do anything like this. Put the goddamn gun down and get out of my way. You don't know a fucking thing about me, and you'll never find out. Go ahead. Do a little digging in next life. I burned down my house so that no one else would pick up on the trail. But then some stupid bitch of my ancestors got married, and you found the report in the tunnels and restarted this whole goose chase all over again. All thanks to you. And now you're going to die. Sam, please. Put down the gun and calm down. Let this all go, please. I won't turn you into the police. We can just go back to how things were without us ever seeing each other again. Please, I have a family to get back to. Samuel draws his breath heavily, not breaking eye contact while intently staring at me. His breath slowed down in attention as his head slowly gazes at the floor. Just, please, put down the gun. You're not going... Samuel quickly fires the gun and grazes my hand before going completely belligerent on me. 4 shots left! I know how to shoot a fucking gun! An 18th century Alicia Kalita revolver, manufactured with 6 Nestler in a chamber. One currently dislodged out of someone's brain matter, and the other one in that wall right behind you. Someone's gonna come out of here, and it's not going to be you. You don't matter in the world. You can't hide anything from me. Sam, for fuck's sake, if you don't put the gun down and stop this insanity, I'm going to have to stop you. You couldn't even stop your own downfall, starting with your father. Yeah, you know all about that, won't you? You couldn't stop that bastard from being a part of his own lineage and seeing himself as God. After all that physical and emotional abuse you suffered, and you still loved him. Your first love nearly crushed your soul and made you into this shallow, empty husk of a man. You tried to right so many wrongs, but you made things worse and ended up alone and worthless like me. The only way for your suffering to end is to meet God with me. You are all alone now, and just like those papers in your bag, no one will remember you, and you will fade away in some hole in the ground. Just like them. That's all true. And you're right about everything. You did everything you could to uncover the past, and you got me. That's one thing you're good at. But you're a terrible liar, Sam. Yeah? Sam cocks a gun. Try me. Bad things happen all the time. I've had shit happen to me. Horrible things I can't forget and will carry me to the end of my days. But this is not the answer. We'll find a way out of the cycle we're in, but only together. I'm sorry that all happened to you and you had to witness it. But you can't just fix it. You can't fix it this way. I'm gonna come over to you, okay? Just stay where you are. Sam slowly lowers the gun and hangs his head low in silence. There you go. Now please, drop the gun. Sam suddenly lifts his head at attention and stares directly at me with a distant look of sincerity. I'm afraid Samuel's gonna have to sit this one out, boy. I jump back in shock and question who I think is Sam. Sam? What? What is this? What's going on? Samuel's not here at the moment. Well, I'm here on his behalf to stop the charade. Thomas, was it? Sit down for a spell and tend to your hand. There's something I need to say to you. I comply and sit on the ground and wrap my hand with part of my shirt. Right. Well, now you might be wondering what is actually happening if any of this is real. Unfortunately for you, it's as real as that nasty wound on your hand. However, there is a huge misunderstanding here that collectively you, Samuel, and all the other sheep of this lost herd have failed to understand about this whole conspiracy. In your banal human instinct, you call things that you don't understand a conspiracy. But I see it as more of a pilgrimage to become something like me. Wait, what are you saying? That the murders weren't real at all and the dates and zip codes were just coincidence? Very intuitive thinking, but you are only half right. The murders started out as attempts, but ended as suicides. Glad you figured that one out before I told you. And the zip codes and coordinates and the dates fell out the other half. I see that you and Samuel have been paying attention, and I'm feeling optimistic about the outcome of all of this. Tell me more. Please. I'm afraid that I'm low on time after centuries of birdwatching, and wondering when someone will pick up on my plan. Luckily for you and Samuel, my patience has paid off, and both you and Samuel will be handsomely rewarded for your efforts. You two are truly extraordinary, and I'm quite confident that we'll cross paths again. What do you say, buddy? Name your prize. No, I can't. I don't want anything from you. I don't even know who you are. I just want Sam back and for all of us to leave this place. Please. That's all? Alright. Suit yourself. The being raises his hands with his fingers and press together and pauses. Forgive me. But I mustn't be rude to my champions. I need to leave you with at least some compensation to put you at ease. Now listen closely. 256, 1600, 66050, 513, 2010. What? What does that mean? You tell me, detective. Now if you'll excuse me. Wait. What about Sam? Samuel? Oh, right. I almost forgot. Well, since Sammy is in no position of free will at this current moment and completely immobilized by his actions, he has been fully aware of everything that's happening, even right now. You gotta see the look of it. You gotta see this traumatized look when he comes to. It's honestly hilarious. So here's what's gonna happen, Thomas. Since your adventure has come to an end and my awakening has been completed, in a few moments I will leave this earth out of your gaze. Samuel will return to his catatonic state, and you two boys will leave this place and return from whence you came. And you're going to do as I say. He grips the gun and steps closer to me. Because the Coleman family has had a hereditary case of schizophrenia with a birth rate of 20% of their offspring. The right amount of cranial chemical reactions and the vicious cycle of reckless course correcting that you and your ilk have been doing have at last brought my rebirth into fruition. And no one is going to see me coming, because demons aren't real. You gotta give me praise that this was a pretty damn good plan. So, are you? The name's Azazel, kid. I used Samuel's untreated bicentennial bipolar disorder as a cover until the time was right. He's not the first one with an intoxicating amount of cortisol in his bloodline, but this one was by far the best. Good luck re-entering society, my friend. You fucking monster. Pleasure. Okay, Samuel and Thomas, you're free to go. Now, I suggest you boys start walking. When the sun breaks over the horizon over there, this lighthouse will be known as Destination 407. The site where Azazel has returned to the earth. A new dawn breaks over his new beginnings. Now it's time I bid you guys farewell. Goodbye, boys. Azazel snaps his fingers and Sam collapses on the ground. I catch him before he falls. Sam comes to, looks at me with shock and horror in his face. Then he stands up out of my arms and slowly paces a few feet from me, observing the room. He then slowly turns back around and looks at me with tears welling in his eyes. Tommy. Sam. It's okay. A silence slowly engulfs the room as Sam and I slowly look at each other intensely before he speaks again. Tommy. Take me home. I'm sorry I did this to you. Before I could react, Sam quickly turned the gun on himself and pulled the trigger. His lifeless body fell to the ground, and the continuous tune of the waves crashing and the wind blowing became as silent as the man before me. After processing everything that happened in the past 8 hours that night, I sat on the ground with Sam by my side, questioning everything and myself for letting us get too deep in a series of events that should have stayed buried. I only had myself to blame for not only unleashing this evil into the world, but also playing right into his game. I reported to the police when I reached back to shore, and I took Sam home. As of this writing, the Coleman family conspiracy is over. I will leave this chronicle in the public archives as a warning for the events that will happen in the coming years. The Destination 407 curse may be broken, but something far, far worse has been unleashed into this world. It's going to be hell on earth all over again. And it's all my fault. I'm taking what I have left with me to the Midwest as the last coordinates. I'm taking what I have left with me to the Midwest at the last coordinates that the demon gave me. If I don't make it back, then all I have to say is, I'm sorry, and please forgive me for what I have done to the world. And that is Destination 407. Hope y'all enjoyed.
Very much an indicator. Plainly put, some things could not be looked into. Things you just gotta leave well enough alone. Fortunately, Magnus Peccatori had an outside influence. He had to leave. However, his story was appreciated and his contribution was appreciated. We appreciate you showing up, Magnus Peccatori, and we hope to have you again in the future. You're not quite done. There's one more story, read by me, Midnight Researcher. Grab it here. Alright. This is going to be the last story of the night. It is called... No. Gotta do the correct thing. I'm Midnight Researcher. Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society. This is... White with Red. By Anonymous. Once, a man went to a hotel, walked up to the front desk, got in. The woman at the desk gave him his key, told him, on the way to his room, the door with no number that was locked. No one was allowed in there. He explained that it was a storeroom, that it was out of bounds. He reminded him of this several times. Stairs. So, followed the instructions. Front desk. Straight to his room, going to bed. However, the insistence of the piqued his curiosity, so the next night, walked down the hall to the door, tried the handle. Sure enough, locked. Bent down, looked through the wide keyhole. Cold air passed through it, filling his eye. What he saw was a hotel bedroom like his. Corner was a woman whose skin incredibly pale. She was leaning her head against the wall, facing away from the door. He stared in confusion for a while. Celebrity? The owner's daughter? Almost knocked on the door out of curiosity, but decided not to. As he was still looking, the woman turned sharply, and he jumped back from the door, hoping he would not suspect he had been spying on her. He crept away from the door and walked back to his room. The next day, he returned to the door and once again looked through the wide keyhole. This time, all he saw was redness. Couldn't make anything out. But its distinct red color, unmoving. Perhaps the inhabitants of the room knew he was spying the night before and had blocked the keyhole with something red. He felt embarrassed that he had made the woman so uncomfortable. hoped she had not made a complaint with the woman at the front desk. At this point, he decided to consult her for information. Said, "Did you look through the keyhole?" The man told her that he had. Said, "Well, might as well tell you the story of what happened in that room. A long time ago, a man murdered his wife in there. Find that, even now, whoever stays there gets very uncomfortable. But, see, these people were not ordinary. They were white, all over. Except for their eyes, which were red." That was White with Red by Anonymous. Bring close our storytelling. However, since we do have an audience here, I would like to open the audience, open their mics to any questions or comments that anyone would have to our storytellers that are today. Please, if anybody has any questions or comments, now is the time to speak up, because there are a lot of things interesting about those stories that we heard and the creators behind them. Please speak up if you have a question. For anyone or anybody here.
I do have one question for, maybe we should form a line or something?
Counterclockwise.
Maybe.
Clockwise or counterclockwise?
Yeah.
Let's roll initiative.
Red Fox was taken. Your question.
For Fourth Shot, that this story was actually very interesting, and that it was actually, you, came up with yourself. What was the inspirations that you had for, making it?
Actually, I do have inspirations for several stories. Like one, I based on a dream and stuff. But this one, honestly, I was just listening to a story about that was based around a programmer, and I was just like, huh, wouldn't it be fun if? And I just kind of came up with the idea from there. Nothing really. I guess it was a spark from a certain story, but I don't remember which one. Because, like I said, I wrote it 2 years ago or something like that initially, and so. But I'm glad you liked it. Thank you.
Yeah, it was very, very nice story.
Guess we'll go clockwise.
If I may.
Yes, it is. Tiger.
I was gonna say I enjoyed the haunted room story you had. I swear I've heard something similar before, but it definitely how would I say this? It's very interesting, but took an unexpected turn, but a very good one.
Yeah, I'd certainly. Oh. I will.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I will open the stage for fellow storytellers to ask each other questions. Though, Bone Man Andre, do you have any questions?
You know, my head's kind of empty on that note. Like, I enjoy these stories, but I don't have much to add to them or many questions to ask.
Well, I would say your performance was excellent. That's my comment to you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Four shot. You?
Having seen the original versions of them, I will say that Troll Force, I think the revisions you made ended up improving the story flow overall very well, and it seemed like you had put a lot of effort into trying to minimize the amount of stuttering you had, which I think is commendable.
Thank you.
Yes, you did a very good job in that story. Troll Force, do you have any comments or questions?
No, I'm good right now.
Okay. Fragile Fawn, comments, questions?
I just think everyone did a really good job at narrating, pretty much. Like, I like
Good
the
friend.
voices. Oh, sorry, you cut out.
No. You keep going.
Ah, that was it.
My good friend Naira, who has been sitting right next to the camera. Questions, comments. No? Okay. So my good friend Horagoo, who has also been sitting right next to the camera. Comments, questions. Good there?
Does it speak? I hear nothing.
It seems like they might need a second.
It's alright.
The way you said that, I just had to... I'm so glad I'm on
Oh,
push to talk.
hello.
Because I was just laughing the way you said that.
Okay. Sorry, I like double muted my microphone so that no noise. Okay.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah, I did actually have a comment for Troll Force. First off, I really wanted to say that your acting for both of the characters was fantastic. Very passionate, and I could tell that this was a story that you felt like very close to. But I did have a little trouble keeping up with the lore of the story, so I do think reading it would be great. Because I'm sure that there's a lot of history between these two characters that we missed out on. So that was pretty much my comment.
Yeah, that's right. Like the story, it does take inspiration for quite a handful of real stories and stuff like that. I just mix them into my own story. Like some of the dates are correct and stuff like that. Oh, sorry. What was that?
I think we're having an echo.
Oh. But yeah, it's just real inspiration from stories, and I decided to turn into some crazy religious conspiracy, and that's kind of what it turned into.
You told me that your inspiration for the number came from safe something?
Yeah, it came from a paper safe I had here. I set the combination to literally 407 a couple years ago, and I completely forgot why.
Sorry, Horagoo.
Oh, so yeah, sorry. I definitely got the vibe of Abel and Cain of those two boys, their relationship. So I could definitely see you had a lot of religious influence, which is pretty cool. I mean, that's my favorite genre of horror, so I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Religious symbolism slaps, so that was good.
We'll pass it to Cat Lou for any. I will say. I forgot to mention. Cat Lou and Ghostly Swagger have been independently recording edition Midnight Society. So, buddy, give them things. Well, they put not as much effort as I've been putting in this song. Their help is very much
Your mic is cutting out pretty hard right now.
Sorry, yeah. I gotta get close to the mic. But what I basically said is they've been independently recording this edition of the Midnight Society, so give them all thanks because their help has been very much appreciated. And Soda Cat, I will now give it to you for any comments or questions.
For once, no.
Okay.
Seeing that small creature say that, just I'm sorry. If I had guts, I'd be losing them.
I believe that will be end of the question session. I forgot somebody. No, I don't think I forgot anybody. For the storytellers that have been remaining, where can people find you? And what do you specialize in? I will start with Bone Man Andre. Where can people find you, and what do you want people to know about yourself?
There's not really many places to find me other than niche corners of the community or in your videos when I occasionally do guest narration. If there's anything that really anybody needs to know about me, it's I don't want to be found. There are reasons for that. Let me lay in my coffin and be at peace. But if somebody out in the world happens to meet me, I'll try to be friendly. But again, let me rest in my coffin.
All right.
Perfectly
Four shot.
said. Most people can find me either on Reddit by 4-Shot Pastas, or also on YouTube, also as 4-Shot Pastas. That's just sort of the moniker I picked up for the horror community. And so yeah, I
believe you're also known as 4-Shot Bot on some communities, correct?
Yeah, so that's generally what I use for gaming and whatnot. So yeah, 4-Shot Bot. I think on Reddit it's both. It's like like my username is 4-Shot Pastas, and then my like actual Reddit tag or whatever is 4-Shot Bot, and so yeah, people just call me 4-Shot. But yeah, I do some narrations on YouTube. Generally, I've been just kind of narrating my own stuff lately. And then I also write my own stories. I just finished a 3.5-year-long series a little while back. My roommate is Slenderman. Essentially
Wow.
a glorified fanfic. Anyway, yeah, that's where you can find me.
And Trollforce. Oh, actually, no, I don't want to skip Magnus just because he's not here. I'll try and fill in for him. Magnus Peccatori is an animator, a narrator, and an artist, as well as a horror fan in general. You can find him at Magnus Space Peccatori, pretty much his same username that he's had all along since he has collabed with me. He's a great and funny person, and obviously, as you saw from his story, he was very expressive. You know, just a fun, wacky guy, reading horror stories for everybody here. And he does a lot more things. He's very talented. He's made models on things such as Boreal Alf, and has, oddly enough, a custom Bonsai Buddy model that somebody took and ported into VR chat, and he discovered it, and he had no idea about it until he saw it in VR chat himself. So there's Magnus, Magnus Space Peccatori. Now, for Trollforce, you, where can people find you, and what do you want to know? What do you want everybody to know about yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Trollforce. I did a creepypasta reading for my original story, Destination 407. If you want to like see more stuff about that, or like any other content I do, I have a YouTube channel under the same name. I go into in-depth analysis videos about fictional games titles, like with the Amnesia series and Penumbra series. I recently wrapped up, and also if you want to catch me any other day, I stream on Twitch like Wednesdays and Friday nights, so you can go find me there.
And of course, I am Midnight Researcher. Whip. Make sure I'm closer to the mic so I'm not cutting off. My setup right now is very bootleg to make this whole camera thing happen. Of course, you know me. If you're watching this channel, I'm Midnight Researcher. I'm appearing before you in my Halloween costume, cosplaying as a mutual friend of a lot of people in here, Spike, Mr. Creepypasta. I am a general horror fan. I am specializing right now in creepypasta readings and game playthroughs. I'm taking a bit of a hiatus from regular video posting, but my presence online has not disappeared. I am still actively doing things online, playing games with friends, doing live streams like this one. And come sometime next year, I will be back in full swing. Be on the lookout for future videos and more projects to the side, like this live stream and other live streams that we've been doing past couple of months now. With all that being said, this has been Midnight Society VR number 4. It's Still Alive edition. Be on the lookout for future episodes of this as well. With all that being said, I bid you all happy Halloween. Good night. See you, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Everybody, shut up.